All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the mind of NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang to build out the AI Factory Playbook. Basically, a guide for every leader trying to navigate this new AI era. Let's jump right in.
So let's start with the big idea here. According to Huang, what we're living through right now, well, it's not just another tech trend. He says this is the most fundamental reinvention of computing in over half a century.
So, what does a reinvention of computing actually look like? Well, it's a total shift in how we interact with machines, a complete overhaul.
Think about it like this. For decades, it's been all about explicit programming. You had to be an expert writing super detailed code to tell the computer exactly what to do, step by step. But we're moving into a totally new world, one of implicit intent. Now you can just tell the computer what you want in plain English, and the AI itself figures out how to get it done.
Now, with a shift this big, you can bet the old rulebook just doesn't apply anymore. And here's where Huang's advice gets a little controversial. He says that for leaders, clinging to old metrics like return on investment can actually be the biggest mistake you make.
So instead of getting stuck in spreadsheet paralysis, demanding a perfect ROI before you even start, he suggests a totally different approach. It's a three-step plan that's all about strategic exploration first.
All right, so let's really dig into this process. It's all about letting innovation breathe before you try to bottle it up. Step 1 is to let 1,000 flowers bloom. Basically, say yes to your teams. Let them experiment, let them play, let them explore. Then comes step 2, focus on your company's essence. This is where you get serious. You identify the single most important, needle-moving work your company does, and you aim all that creative energy right there. And finally, step 3, curate your winning approach. You look at all the experiments, use your best judgment, and then you go all in, putting your resources behind the ideas that are going to win.
But it's not just about a list of things to do. Huang argues that leaders need something deeper, a completely new mindset, which he calls an AI sensibility. It's about changing how you think about problems from the ground up.
So what on earth is an AI sensibility? It's a way of thinking where you pretend that computing is basically free and infinitely fast. It's about asking questions that used to be pure science fiction. You stop asking, how can we make this 10% faster? And you start asking, what if this could be done instantly? What if it took 0 effort? What would we build then?
And if you're not convinced, just look at these numbers. Really look at them. We all grew up with Moore's Law, right? Performance doubling every couple of years. That gave us a 100x improvement over a decade, which felt incredibly fast. But AI? We're talking a million-fold improvement in the same amount of time. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around. We've gone from scarcity to unbelievable abundance.
And this is the part that should really get your attention. If you're not thinking with this new logic, if you're not assuming things can be 1,000,000 times better, then you're not doing it right. And you can be absolutely sure your competitors are already doing it. Or even scarier, some startup in a garage is, and they're coming for you.
Okay, so you've got all this insane power available. Now what? The big question for every company becomes, do we build this capability ourselves? Or do we just rent it from someone else?
And you can see why that's a tempting idea, right? It sounds so easy. Just use a cloud service, treat it like an electric bill. But Huang has a really strong argument against that way of thinking.
His advice is to lift the hood. Get your hands dirty. Build something, even if it's just a small project. Why? Because this isn't just about the technology itself. It's about getting that gut feeling, that intuition for what it can really do. And even more importantly, it's about protecting the crown jewels, your data, your private conversations, your strategy.
And this next quote, man, it just nails it. The most valuable intellectual property in your company isn't the answers you have, it's the questions you're asking. The problems you're trying to crack, the things you're curious about, that's the secret sauce. That is your strategy. And you don't want to be feeding that to a third-party model.
Which leads to a really interesting question. If the AI can write the code and spit out the answers, where does that leave us? What's our actual value? What is the new superpower for you and your employees? You've probably heard this before, but it's so important to let it sink in. The real threat isn't the technology. It's being left behind. The person who's going to take your job is someone who has figured out how to use AI to be 10 times more productive than you. And that changes everything about what skills matter.
For the last 30, 40 years, if you could code, if you could speak the language of computers, you had a superpower. It was the key to everything.
But now, that's changing, and it's changing fast. As Huang says, typing is a commodity. The new superpower isn't the ability to code, it's the domain expertise, the wisdom, the judgment, to know what to ask the computer to do in the first place.
So let's bring this all home. At the end of the day, here's what it all boils down to. Your company's unique, deep understanding of your industry, your customers, and your toughest challenges, that right there is your greatest asset. AI is just the incredible new tool that can finally unlock that expertise at a massive scale. So the real question for you isn't if you'll use AI, it's how are you going to use it to activate your company's greatest asset.